I don't think anybody on this podcast in particular would ever show up late if this was an MTV production.
No.
So it's almost like they're taking advantage of Joe, me, you, anybody that sits on the authoritative side of the Joe Budden Network business. They look at it like, ooh, that's an independent infrastructure. Who gives a shit what they think? We'll come in when we want to. As opposed to, if this was a Viacom, like let's say, for example, a Wild 'N Out, I don't feel like anybody on this podcast would ever show up anywhere close to start time. They would show up early out of respect for MTV. I think the only reason we have some of the problems we do have over the years, not now, but in general, is because people look at us like, oh, this is like some independent ragtag type of production.
Not even that they think it's ragtag or anything. I think that it's more, there's also the friend element to it, right?
They always use the Joe's my friend.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Elevation here with another episode of the JBP Elevated, where we speak on the Joe Budden podcast and all of his co-hosts on and off the pod. Not even gonna hold you. As much as we as a collective don't want to see Ian showcased on BTS, this previous BTS, he was making very astute points. If this was a Viacom production or Paramount production or Peacock production, nobody on that set would be late. Nobody on that set would be complaining. Everybody would be proud and constantly mention that they work for Paramount, Peacock, Viacom, the whole nine. They would go out their way to advertise the show. These are real things. I want to touch on that friend topic. I was just telling my brother of 20 plus years this the other day. When people get that title of friendship or that's my friend above associate and acquaintance, it's like they start treating you worse. It's like, because we're close now, I could do whatever, or I could slide with more leeway, or you'll be more lenient on my movements towards you, as opposed to the opposite and what a friend actually is. Because I care for you more, I'm going to make sure I treat you even better than I treat strangers, not the opposite. So when Ian is speaking on them missing time limits or whatever the preset time is for them to be there, and they just walk off the set while they're recording, they just go eat. We take 28 breaks on the pod, which is another thing we're trying to capture on the BTS, which is why we're always showing y'all eating. Y'all wouldn't treat Viacom like this. So I actually agree with Ian. But on the flip side, speaking of flip, I agree with flip too. No, nigga. What time do we start recording the pod? The actual pod and the actual Patreon. 11? I'll be here at 11. I don't need a prep. I don't need a warm-up. We could just start as soon as I walk in. Why are you wanting me to get here 30 minutes earlier? Is this BTS a part of my contract? And then they alluded to a town hall meeting. That's more content. Is this a part of my contract? We always get mad at Flip complaining, but it's not because he's complaining about the contract. We just don't want to constantly hear it on the pod. But every point he makes is a valid point. Hey, is this implemented in my contract? That's the flip side of doing friendship business when you're not the owner. You don't know if you're getting jerked on the deal or not. If this is the most money you've ever made at one time or in one setting, then you're more inclined to be lenient on signing a contract, even if it's bullshit. I would be paying attention the most to Erickson, Poe, and Corey. Since them niggas is there all the time, and I, as a JBP employee, don't know what it is the hell that y'all do, I'm paying attention to y'all. I'm paying attention to every single camera angle you take of me. And then I'm rereading my contract 24/7. You're not about to get me in all this extra content. You're not about to get me in all this extra behind the scenes footage. You're not about to constantly speak on what it is that I'm not doing that's implemented in my contract without me firing back. I have been saying for months, to Flip at least, Why is a 1.26 million sub YouTuber signed to a 1.48 million sub YouTuber? And it never made sense to me. And with the revelations that came out in today's Patreon episode, which I will absolutely be making another video about, we're going to talk on it even further, man. We got some big things going on. But if I'm anybody on the JBP, I'm absolutely paying attention to Ian's movements. He has too much say on the show. I understand you're Joe's manager, but does that mean you are the JBP's manager? Do you own the JBN? Like, what is your official title here for you to be implementing all these things? We never even discussed that. Joe has acknowledged Ian as being his manager. So why is Ian running anything at the JBN if he doesn't co-own it? And Joe keeps saying he runs the JBN or JBP, and that's just not true. And then today on the Patreon, they keep saying, because he said it on this episode of BTS and today on the Patreon, they keep saying that Parks is grandfathered in. What the hell does that even mean? How are you grandfathered into a contract? This is getting real interesting, man. It's getting real interesting. I'm starting to enjoy BTS because I don't think it's all acting. They were trying to take that segue, but now they're getting back to compelling content. Because even if you don't like Ian, the messenger, just pay attention to the message. We are actually frustrated, and we see ourselves as a Viacom. Because we're independently owned, yet we're on the same not network, but we're on the same, let's say, wavelength. We do numbers just like they do numbers. The only reason they do it at a bigger scale is because they have way more shows, and way more control of other networks. They don't just own MTV. Like, Viacom is one of the 6 mega media companies out there. We are an independent, smaller variation of that, but we still operate the same. Yet y'all treat us like we're just friends. What did I say about that friendship thing? If they were all business associates or had no clue who the other person was outside of work, then they would treat it differently. But since they all have personal connections, and because I know him and because he knows me, he's willing to let more things slide that normally other people wouldn't, and vice versa. And it just shouldn't be like that. So, yeah, shit's getting real dicey. Shit is getting really dicey. And the only person that we heard sign a contract, renewal at least, was Flip and Mel. I haven't heard shit about Ice and Ish. Why is that? But, as always, I appreciate y'all tuning into the channel. Make sure y'all comment on the video. Let's get some engagement going, get some conversation started. Make sure you like the video, and make sure you subscribe to the page for more content just like this. I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all stay safe out there. Till tomorrow, peace.